How do you know when, I don't know if I'm complicating this question too much, but
you're not
God's telling you the right thing.
Yeah, not only are you not complicating it, you're exposing feelings. And I can tell you right now, you have to do the thing that you actually feel. Whatever the practical part of you, so I believe, and I hope I get to see it, but I think it's gonna take some time. I believe that intuition is uncomfortably misunderstood in society. And I hope, like alcoholism and mental health, that I'll be on earth when we get to talking about intuition in a far more thoughtful way than we talk about it now. So I live, in a way where my intuition trumps every thought I have. Every logical thing that you can tell me, if my chemicals are telling me something else, there's not even a debate. If my chemicals tell me I have to live underwater like a fish right now in a submarine, I would literally walk out of this room right now and do that. I think you have to start trusting your intuition. And if you're asking that question, you already know the answer. You're just dealing with the fear of the ramifications. And the way I talk about fear of ramifications is the following. You have to be humble and empathetic. Let me explain. A lot of times people don't want to do something else because it financially hurts them and they don't have the humility to live by taking one step backwards. A lesser home, a lesser car, a lesser vacation, right? So that's the humility that's needed to make the jump. And then empathy. The reason most people don't make jumps is they value other people's opinions more than their own happiness. Instead of being mad at yourself or even them, I try to get people to understand, be empathetic to your mom and dad. They love you, that means they're scared. By nature, love means fear. So if you're going to be a stand-up comedian after you decided to spend all this money on education, they're gonna be scared. But don't be mad at them, and definitely don't be scared for yourself. You just know you need to go do it. You have to be empathetic that of course they're gonna be scared or pissed if they paid for your education. But it's your life. And I can promise you one thing. When I was a child, I spent a lot of time with 70 and 80-year-old people. I'm not kidding. It was the weirdest thing. And finally, in my mid-40s, I'm starting to understand it. Whether I was born an old soul, whether wisdom came naturally to me, or because I did this and felt comfortable with grandparents, did I become a little bit more wise and did it rub off on me? I can promise you something, Shirley. There's nothing scarier in the world outside of the health and well-being of yourself and your loved ones, which is number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Number 11 is regret. There's nothing scarier than regret. You wanna see real pain outside of death and illness? Go talk to somebody who's 67, 74, 82, 91. Talk about life. They will always talk with pain in their eyes about the things they didn't do.
We haven't taken a lot of funding, but I still am like, how close do we want to run our margins? And then, but you have to like put money up for rent, right? So in San Francisco, well, and here, you got to put, your deposit and.
Well, it's funny, right? Like, we have a lot of jobs we're putting out there at 40 and 50, and people are like, how can you live in New York? They like yell at me. And I'm like, by not living in Manhattan, by not buying $7 Starbucks, by not taking Uber instead of the train, you could do anything. To your point, you decide, you were in a little bit of a different place. You were in that world, you made you made some money on that exit. You were also in the cocoon of you were in San Francisco cocoon.
Yeah, well now most of our people are in Austin. Exactly,
you from mentality of St. Louis and Nashville, and you as the person that was living in a cocoon of San Francisco. You can do anything if you're willing to not be entitled, if you're willing to be practical. This is where Americans get caught with immigrants all the time. How can this happen? Very easy. You live humbly as fuck, you save money, and you then deploy that money. It's not super complicated. You did it, I did it, my dad definitely did it, and a billion fucking people have done it in America over the last 100 years. It's that people are impatient and insecure, and so that's how we did it. And
so were you running?
We didn't pay rent for the first 2.5 years of the company.
Were you guys running? You guys were running on a slim bank balance even for a couple of years.
Yes and no. We didn't pay rent. Again, because I bartered, I asked, like, you know, I already had a little street cred because of my wine business, so I was able to use me a little bit, so that's true.
I just think that when you have like 300 employees, it's like, shit, like...
Yeah, but by that point, we had, you know, at 300 employees, we were doing, you know, $87 million in revenue. Like, you know, at that point, you're balancing it. But yeah, I mean, it's also not, you know what it comes down to, and I'm curious how you think about this, and I hope you've been able to hold on to this because it'll make you unstoppable. I'm also I'm actually secretly excited about a headline in the New York Times that says VaynerMedia lays off half of its staff after the recession, because if I made the wrong decisions of saving, which won't happen, but if I did, I'd still be okay with it. Here's why. I deserve it. I made a mistake. I like being accountable. I'm really into accountability. I really think it needs to get like super cool. Alex, do me a favor, text to Andy K right now and tell him I want it accountable as fuck hoodie made immediately. I want to wear it. See if he can get it to me this afternoon. Accountable as fuck. In the same way, I apologize, I just want to say this, like in the same way that I think kindness and empathy and patience needed to be a bigger part of the formula of entrepreneurship, which is why I've talked about it a lot more. I think accountability, like I just wish that every entrepreneur, back to your point, razor thin margins. What does that mean? You can get caught. If you're okay with getting caught and paying the ramifications, you win. If you're not, as you know, and I've been listening to you on this interview, people creating exits in media land, creating exits that look like it's an exit, you know it wasn't an exit, they sold their assets for a penny on the dollar, but they didn't have the guts to say we shut down, so they sold early, right? People are not willing to be uncomfortable. I'm willing to put my own cash back into VaynerMedia if I fucked up. I'm willing to have to let go of 10% of worst employees at Vayner if 9 of our clients fire us. Like shit changes, things happen.
I do these exercises and I tell Adam about it all the time. I just do these exercises all the time where I'm like, if this business goes out of business tomorrow, I'll be fine. You know why? Because you will be fine. Right, and so that's what I do that exercise all the time because I remember when we first started, I'm like, man, if this, my personality is so tied up in this, but then now it's like, if we go away tomorrow, I'll be just as happy. And that kind of like when you protected your downside, that means you have no downside then, and it's only upside. And so that's kind of how we discuss it. I've said it a billion times and I'll say it again. I want to lose everything, have everybody shit on me, say that I was a farce the whole time, see how everybody else was better than me, I was the joke, make fun of all the people that bought into me, all that, and then just rise back up and fucking tell everybody go fuck themselves. Like, I'm into that shit. Yeah, I mean, it's really helpful because it's freeing. It's unbelievably freeing. The reason I deal so well with being wrong, which happens all the time, is because I don't get high when I'm right. Do you want to know the easiest way to deal with booing or with negative comments? Don't listen to the cheering and positive comments. I think the reason it's good for me, Eric, is because I stay in my very small cocoon within my own head, right in the middle. Listen, I'm living a life right now where I have a lot of accolades. And when I tell you, you can't imagine how much if I disappear off the face of the earth tomorrow, I'll get 12 hours of some love on social media and everybody here will move on with their lives. When you have the humility to know you mean nothing, but the ambition to mean everything, shit gets real interesting.